Hey, good morning everyone from sunny Vermont. I wanted to make a second video today to share some of the recent updates I've done to this bike. If you saw my first video, you saw that I put the CR High Bend Pro Taper Contour bars on there, which in my opinion just makes such a huge difference, especially for guys taller than 6 foot. You know, I also went with a lower profile mirror with the bark busters and handguards and the skid plate. I have an update for you regarding the 12 O'Clock Labs tail tidy and my experience with CRFsonly.com. But I'll talk about that at the end. So in today's video, you know, just looking at this bike, you could probably tell that I got some new tires. I did talk about getting the Tusk D Sports, and I bailed on that idea. I actually ended up going with the Dunlop D606 in the back with a Pirelli MT16 in the front. Now, some of you are probably saying, why an MT16? It's pretty common to run the Dunlop with actually a Pirelli MT21, but I did feel that the MT21, it was just a little too tame for me. I ride probably 80% off-road dirt roads, and I just want that stick. I want that traction, and really didn't want to mess around with the 21s. I was afraid that I'd actually be disappointed with them before too long. So you know, went with the 16s, and in my opinion too, you know, I do ride some roads. So if I need to even replace tires once a year, it's just worth it for me to know that I'm having fun, especially when off-road. That said, I rode the pavement yesterday on this thing, probably 20 miles worth, and it worked. It ran fine. Tires hummed a little bit, but not enough for me to hate this setup. I actually really love these tires. I'm psyched that I went with this setup, and so much better than stock. Let me give you a little comparison here. I have the stock tire. I mean, just night and day difference. Little tread depth for you there. A little taller than my finger. Just shitbox stock tires. So with that said, the 606s though, in my opinion, I am certainly no expert here on tire installation. I've done it only a few times. I did order the Tusk tire iron kit, so you know I could do it correctly, and I got the tool that locks the bead in when you're putting the tire on. The D606, that was a tough tire, man. I had a hard time putting it on, and then of course I pinched a tube. I got some heavy duty 3mm tubes, and I pinched one. I was pretty pissed about that, but so then I had to do the whole process again. But just a little feedback for everyone out there if you're considering this tire and doing it yourself, and it can be tight, but it's very doable. Just take very small bites with your tire irons. The MT16 went on like a glove, very easily, and no complaints there. Not that I'm complaining about the D606, just a little note for y'all that it was tough, but doable, obviously. I also went with some rim locks. I don't know if you can see those in there. So, I just got the Rocky Mountain Tusk ones. I know, again, the forums say these bikes really don't need them because they don't produce that much power to rotate the tire on the rim, but again, why not? Tire was off. The rim locks are pretty cheap. I think the Rocky Mountain ones were $7 a pop, so not bad. But overall, really psyched on these tires. Let me know if you have any questions about them. I'm happy to answer what I can. I definitely recommend if you're like a 70-30, 80-20 rider. Good setup. So with that said, I also went with a 45 tooth rear sprocket. And I went with, I think it's a primary drive gold X-ring chain, which people say X-ring's the way to go because it has less friction and you can actually get maybe a little more power out of the bike. I don't know if that's true, but I think between the X-ring chain and the aluminum sprocket, so it's lighter rotational mass, I just think the bike runs a little better. Maybe that's not true. I don't know. I do want to share while I'm done here for a second. Your chain guide here, this rubber black piece needs to actually be flipped. So that's why it does hang down a little lower now. But with that said, it works with the 45 tooth sprocket. If you didn't do that, you'd actually have to get a new chain guide, and I just really didn't want to do that right now. So with that said, I was watching Motorcycles Off-Road. I believe his name's Andrew, and he essentially was saying because the D606 is 90, so well, it's a 120 by 90 by 18. The stock, I believe, is a 120 by 80. So it's actually a slightly bigger tire in diameter. And for that, it actually gears your bike the opposite way you want it to go. So he was saying that his theory is that a 43 tooth sprocket would bring you back to the stock gearing with the bigger rear tire. And I chose to go with the 45 in that case, just to get a little extra torque. So I'm actually still, I believe, in like the 12% range. 12% off the top end, 12% added to the bottom. I seem to agree with Andrew and his theory, so that's why I went this route. And my review of it is I freaking love it. You know, I will never, very rarely, I'll say that I went 80 miles an hour on this bike. I'm all about the woods. I can still ride this thing to work. You know, my work is about 20 miles away. Don't get me wrong, you still ride 70, 75 miles an hour. 70, I mean 75, you're definitely gonna be revving the bike out. But at 70 miles an hour yesterday, 65, 70, this thing was running just fine. I think I was around 6,000 RPM, so some might say that's a little high, but it was fine. I'm really psyched that I went with the 45 tooth. And again, I'd only recommend the 45 tooth, or I could only particularly recommend the 45 tooth with the larger tire size. If you had a stock tire, you might just want to consider a 42 tooth. Not sure. It is something you have to play around with, but you know, no risk, no reward. So really happy I went with the 45 tooth. I can't say enough good things about it. Granted, I only have about maybe 30 miles on that sprocket, so it's not like I have a long-term review here. I only have 200 miles on the bike. So, you know, take it as you will, but I'm really happy with it right now. Okay. So in the last video, I had mentioned that I got these hand guards and I didn't have the turn signals installed at that time. Well, I've since installed them. I'm pretty psyched how they look. Definitely low pro. I did leave the mounts on there from the stock, but as you can see, looks pretty clean. I went with the TST adapters, so I could use the stock rig. I mean, or the stock connectors. You know, I know some of you are cutting off the connectors from the stock turn signals and then, you know, crimping them that way, heat shrinking them, and using, you know, connecting them to the turn signals and being able to have that quick connect there that way. Although I don't think I'll ever use the stock again, you know, you never know, and I don't know, I guess I'm just weird that way. So I just went ahead and I got the TST adapters. I think for two, they were $11. And then I actually got the Running Mate, which allows these two wired lights, the the D-Flex lights to run or to be on when the bike is running. You don't need to. If you didn't use the Running Mate, only your turn signals would work. So just something to know there. Lastly, I want to show you the new 12 O'Clock Labs smoked cover. So as you knew in my last video, they sent me the stealth version. That is not what was advertised by CRFs only. At that time, it was probably like a week. CRFs only didn't email me, didn't call me back. I was actually pretty upset about it. Well, they did email me back. And he was like, hey, we can just send you a smoke cover. It's really easy to install. So that he did. I like the look of the smoke tail cover so much better than the stealth. And I just think the LEDs are definitely a little more protected from the weather too. Here's what I'll say though. Let me show you this. Yep. Here's what I'll say though. So as I told you last time, it wasn't fitting correctly, and it still isn't. So there's a gap there. There's a slight gap over here, but what I had to do is I actually shimmed this side of the light up with 3 washers just to level it out, because I also noticed that this point right here on the tail tidy was like way lower. So it just wasn't sitting in there straight. So let this be a review. I don't know. I don't want to talk shit on anyone. I know everyone's just trying to make a living, and I'm still really happy with this light. I just wish it fit a little nicer for the money, and I've said that before, and I'll say it again. Now, what CRF's only did tell me was when I sent them pictures of before the shim and after the shim. Oh, and by the way, you can see the weather stripping I put in there too, just to keep some dirt out of those gaps. But what CRF's told me was, oh, we've never seen that gap before. And that's it, period. So I guess I'm a little pissed that they didn't even offer like a solution or, 10% back. I mean, come on, guys, it's a lot of money. You know it doesn't fit right. You even said you've never seen it fit like that. It's 2 bolts, so it's not like I'm messing anything up here. But again, just for you watching this, if you're interested in that light, it's a good light. I like it. I think it looks really good. Looks a lot better than stock. But for the money, come on. Like, I guess I expect too much. I just wanted it to be a little nicer, fit a little nicer. So lastly, I think I told you last time that I ordered the K-Tech suspension for this bike, and I have my reasons for going with the K-Tech. Main one being that this is just a budget bike. I'm out just having a good time, but I do want some better feeling suspension. I think it's been probably 5 or 6 weeks since I've ordered it. I ordered it right at the beginning of March, and still nothing. Okay, so I've found that when I call K-Tech USA, the guys you get on the phone, they're really good. They at least talk to you, they sound human, but I'm also emailing with them too, and they're just giving me these generic responses. Oh, next week. And then next week comes, and then I email them again. Hey, just any updates? Next week, next week, next week. And it just always seems like next week. And so I called them yesterday on Friday, and they told me next week, even though the week prior they told me next week. So we'll see. I feel like if I don't get it by next week, I'm probably going to call, and I know they have the front fork spring in stock. I'm at least going to request they send that to me, because I could be getting that installed, and at least my front suspension would feel better. The rear, again, I'm almost 200 pounds, just under. It's tough, y'all. I've seen videos where people are like, oh, the rear suspension actually isn't that bad. Just adjust the preload and it's just fine. It's like, yeah, maybe if you've never ridden motocross, maybe I'm just a little too particular. And again, I know this isn't a motocross bike. That's not what I'm saying. But my riding style, I need some stiffer suspension. I like to get in the turns and kind of bounce through the woods, and I don't know, this suspension kind of messes you up a little bit, in my opinion. It's just way too soft. You're bouncing around all over the place. So obviously, once I get that suspension installed, I'm going to post a video on that, because I'm really psyched on the possibility of getting that suspension. Lastly, I'll say that I am trying to get, I am going to get a GoPro mount for my helmet, so it won't just be me always sitting here, you looking at my bike while I talk. I plan to take you on some little adventures here around Vermont. As you may know, Vermont's pretty scenic, a lot of dirt roads, and I'm excited to embark in this 300L community. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I hope to be coming to you soon with some K-Tech suspension. Until then, guys, cheers.